Last week I explained why the MSP model is not an IT cost, but a growth strategy. And I want to start today by saying this very clearly. If that episode felt confronting, that's intentional. Because too many SMEs are still stuck in an IT model that quietly slows them down. Today is not a recap. Today is a deeper layer, the why this actually works layer, especially in the Flemish SME landscape. If you run a business in Flanders, you already know this. Margins are under pressure, competition is fierce, and expectations from customers keep rising. Faster response time, better digital communication, always on availability, and meanwhile you're expected to stay secure, compliant and efficient, often with a very small team. And somewhere in all of that, IT is supposed to just work. But here's what I see in practice. Many SMEs don't manage their IT, they tolerate it. As long as things don't break too badly, it's fine, until one day it isn't. The problem is not that business owners don't care about IT. The problem is that the classic break-fix model trained them to think short-term. Call IT when there is pain. Fix the pain and move on. No long-term vision and no structural improvement. The MSP model breaks that pattern. Instead of reacting to incidents, we start by understanding the business. How people work, where data lives, which tools are critical, what would actually hurt it if it went down for a day or even an hour. And that alone already creates a different conversation. And this is where Flemish SMEs really benefit, because most of them don't need more technology. They need better use of what they already have. Microsoft 365 is an example. Almost everyone has it, and very few use it correctly. Without guidance, Microsoft 365 becomes a messy mix of personal habits, files everywhere, and no clear structure. Security defaults left untouched, and then people say, we tried it, but it's not great. With an MSP, Microsoft 365 becomes a platform instead of a toolbox. Identity, security, collaboration, device management, all aligned. And not because it's trendy, but because it removes friction from the daily work. And another big difference is visibility. In a traditional setup, IT is a black box. You don't really know what's going on until something fails. And with an MSP, monitoring is constant. Systems are watched. Alerts are handled before users even notice an issue. And that might sound like a technical detail, but for a business owner, it translates into peace of mind. Fewer surprises, fewer urgent calls, fewer moments where IT suddenly hijacks your day, and that pace of peace of mind is not soft or vague. It has a real business impact. When you are not constantly distracted by IT issues, you make better decisions and you think longer term. You focus on growth instead of survival. And let's talk about the costs, because that's often the elephant in the room. Many SMEs think MSP means more expensive, and in reality, it usually means more honest. And instead of unpredictable invoices after things go wrong, you get a fixed monthly cost that forces transparency on both sides. You know what you pay, and we know what we're responsible for. And here's the part many people miss. MSP costs are not about replacing IT invoices, they're about avoiding business losses, downtime, data loss, productivity drain, reputation damage. Those costs rarely show up neatly on an invoice, but they hurt far more. Security is another area where the MSP model makes a massive difference, not by selling fear, but by reducing risk structurally. Most cyber incidents in SMEs don't happen because someone is careless. They happen because environments are unmanaged. No consistent updates, weak identity protection, backups that exist but are never tested, security tools installed but never monitored. An MSP approach changes security from a product into a process, continuous updates, central visibility, regular checks, and clear procedures when something goes wrong. That's the level SMEs need today. And even if they don't always realize it yet, what also matters, especially in Flanders, is the human aspect. SMEs value trust. They want to know who they're working with. They don't want a call center. They want a partner who understands their reality. And the MSP model supports that relationship because when you work together month after month, you build context. You understand seasonal pressures, growth phases, internal changes. IT advice becomes relevant instead of generic. And that's where IT quietly becomes a growth enabler, and not because it's flashy, but because it's stable, reliable, and scalable. I often say this to clients: good IT is boring, and boring is good. It means things just work. So if you're listening to this and thinking this sounds like what we are missing, that's not a coincidence. It usually means your business has reached a level where reactive IT no longer fits. In the next episode, I answer one very practical question: how do you know when your company is actually ready for the MSP model? Because timing matters, and I want to help you recognize that moment before IT becomes a bottleneck. Thanks for listening to IT for Growth. And if this episode made you rethink how IT fits into your business, then it did its job. Growth starts with awareness and the courage to do things differently. Thank you.